next on the program, we're going to talk about what it's like to go viral. And I was very, very lucky this week in that I was out in Vienna with the IAEA, which is the International Atomic Energy Agency, bit of a mouthful, but it's essentially the UN's kind of nuclear watchdog. And whilst I was there, I got to meet a young woman called Isabelle Boemeke. And Isabelle goes by the persona of Isodope. Let's just take a look, because she's quite a big deal in the kind of like the online space at the moment, and she's essentially a nuclear energy influencer. Unlikely kind of like two that you put together, but anyway, a nuclear energy influencer. Take a look at Isodope.
Nuclear energy is clean energy. This is a plant. No, not this one. This one. Most power plants make electricity by heating water and creating steam. Nuclear power plants get heat from splitting atoms. This is how it all goes down. This is the reactor's core, where all the craziness happens. In there is a nuclear fuel. Uranium pellets. Roughly the size of gummy bears. Imagine that these aliens with cowboy hats are uranium atoms. Pretend that my hat is a neutron. Hi. Neutrons are very sassy. The reactor releases neutrons and they smash into uranium atoms. That makes the atom unstable and it splits into two. This process is called nuclear fission.
So Isabelle was there in Vienna. She was addressing the scientific forum in front of all of these like world leaders and essentially talking about the best ways to try and communicate. And if you want to try and communicate nuclear energy as a clean energy source and as a complement to renewables out there, then you need to use social media, and she's using it to such great effect at the moment. But what I wanted to know was, how does she cope then? Because obviously she has her persona, she's Isabelle in her personal life, and she's Isodope in her kind of social media life. But how does she cope then with having such a big following online, and then obviously getting to fly all over the world and speak to world leaders as well through her activism? And this is what Isabelle had to say.
It's kind of a love and hate relationship, because of course I love it, it goes viral, I love it that a lot of people see it, but you know, inevitably when you get to a certain size or you get to a certain viewership, you start getting the hate comments. And the hate comments can be very challenging to deal with. However, I've accepted that I've embraced a somewhat controversial cause, and it comes with the package, right? You're always going to get hate comments. So I've learned that the best way is to just ignore it. And I think that the way I do it now is I just ignore all comments. I post something and I just ignore the comments.
And are those like hate comments that you say, like, is that all about nuclear, or is it's like people who are criticizing you as a person?
Well, it's about nuclear, it's about my style, my aesthetic, it's about criticizing me as a person, it's about all of it, but that's just how it is. And I think if you do anything in life that has any sort of impact, you will have criticism. So you better just get used to it, because it will be a part of the journey.
And could you do, or can you do what you do without social media?
I don't think I could. I mean, definitely the way I do it, absolutely not. I mean, I was born as a social media advocacy effort first. I moved into the real world, but even whenever I did a real grassroots effort, I still counted a lot on social media to get people to attend the rally that I put together and so on. So I wouldn't be able to do it without social media.
Would you do anything differently if you could start again? Because Isodope is your kind of your persona,
right.
And presumably you use that because it enables you a little bit of anonymity in your private life as well. As Isabelle, you can just sort of go around and not be kind of like criticized or attacked or anything like that. But would you do anything different, like if you could go back to the beginning?
Maybe I would do things a little more mainstream.
Wow, mainstream media? No.
Not mainstream media, but a little more, you know, my content is very specific and it's very niche, and I did it for a reason, because I wanted to get people's attention. But maybe I would have done it a little more, you know, normal, so that you can get even more people on board. But, you know, I think it was an artistic choice, and I feel spiritually fulfilled by it, so I'm happy.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much to Isabelle, otherwise known as Isodope, and you have like millions of followers, right? So
not in the millions yet, but hopefully.
Okay, well, millions of views on all of the content and the videos, so check it out, Isodope. All over TikTok, is that your main preferred platform?
Instagram, or X, formerly known as Twitter.
Oh, very on brand with Elon. Well done. Thank you very much.
Wow, she's pretty impressive. We should say Isodope is a play on isotope, isn't it? That's
yeah.
Yeah. I
Don't
got
ask me
that.
to
Got it in
critique
the
any
end.
more of the physics, but yes, it is.
I think it's brilliant. Again, we hear a lot about influencers, and a lot, when you hear the word influencer, you think negatively about them. But this
Mm.
is actually really interesting. There's not too many people who are advocating nuclear power, certainly not in this way. It must be tricky because for all the supporters of it, as she explains, there's a lot of critics, and it must be quite tough facing some of those criticisms online.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. But one of the things that I've realised over the last week was that the younger generation, and sadly neither of us fit into that anymore, Tim. Sorry to tell you that. But we're basically ancient and old, and it's the boomers as well, the generation before us who are kind of like, in that kind of like post Hiroshima, etc., kind of anti-nuclear bubble, and it just doesn't exist for the younger generation. They are all about trying to find clean sources of energy and to find carbon-free options and resolutions. And this is it. This is one of them. And they just don't have the same kind of like safety concerns or hang-ups that the rest of us do. They think safety is important. But so from her point of view, she was just like, this is just like such an obvious thing to me, and I just don't get why the policymakers and the leaders and the decision makers of the world are being so slow about this, because it's really obvious and it's a really urgent problem that we need to try and fix, and we've got an answer there. And so I felt really enthused that like you've got these young influencers who are taking up a cause beyond just themselves, having a great time with it as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, she's also a model, and she's had obviously lots of publicity herself, and kind of presumably had lots of opportunities to address people on the world stage as a result of her activism. But it's just really empowering, and she was great to me and super generous with her time, and more power to her. Haha.
Very good. I mean, also, does she do all the videos herself? Because they're so well made. The production's really high quality.
She certainly started off doing them all herself. I assume she probably has a bit of more of a production team around her now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all just her own. Yeah, so she created the persona in order to sort of, I think, protect herself a little bit. But yeah, it was just her idea, and it's just so obvious to her. And then when you talk to her, you go, yeah, it is actually really obvious. Maybe I'm just
It's
really
really good.
old.
I learnt a load by watching them.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really, really clever idea. So look out for Isabelle, and follow her Isodope on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, Instagram, the works. She's all over the place. Yeah.